Here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to an early morning episode 95 of CMD Towers, Brews, and Builds. I'm Mr. Commodore Number 5, and my fellow host will receive heroic intervention this week from his reoccurring NASCAR fever. Little does he know that it will be performed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Big Tuck.
I think there was actually a NASCAR thing here last week or Memorial Day someone was telling me about. I was like, good morning, Bears and Beardettes. It is 10:30 our time, and as discussed previously, I am in a very bad mood because due to rain and a horrible storm that's covering the entirety of the Southeast, I'm not being able to go on my mini camping vacation this week when I'm off of work, so I am not in a good mood, which is rare for me on a Sunday morning. That's about all I got because I don't want to stew on that any further. Mr. Combo, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm fine. Had the fiance's.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's a little early. It's 9:30 our time, actually, since quote unquote 2/3 of the cast is Central Time, and someone just had to go be an hour forward because he loves making plans. And what's better than just jumping time to make more plans?
Exactly. I'm like it's like Tenet. I'm like time hacking right now.
Still haven't seen that. Don't know if I should.
I think I think you'd like it. Yeah, like I think it'd be fun. You just have to, even with your like amazing sound system that you have, you'd still have to like watch it with captions because the audio recording on it is so bad. It's really weird. And the other thing too, I was going to make mention of. I know that we watched the Snyder Cut together.
Yes,
but I just watched Army of the Dead yesterday, the new Snyder movie, and it was pretty good. So, or actually, no, it was not that good. Come to think of it, did you watch it?
Yeah. No, we watched it last week, and the first half of the movie was very boring and blah. But once I actually got into Vegas, it became entertaining, at least.
Yeah, but, I don't know. It just didn't have a whole lot of like vivacity for me. You know what I mean?
Sure. But what ended up doing yesterday is the fiance's maid of honor and her husband came into town, know them very, very well. And he ended up doing some housework for us because I've been trying to find a contractor to do all this ticky-tacky stuff around the house. Like, hey, I need this gutter repaired. I need these gates fixed. I need my deck boards that burned forever ago replaced.
After all that whinging and all that hubbub, you still decide to go with this guy from last week. Because you're like, I don't want to pay you or be involved. Like, you had some like elaborate story about this guy who works with his hands. And you're like, I don't want to deal with it. So you are dealing with it now.
No. The whole thing was like, he didn't want us to pay them. What we ended up doing is we ended up buying them dinner and like taking care of, like, the girls went out and got manicures and pedicures, so we took care of that.
Sure, okay.
But the reason I brought this up is he is adamant that Arthur Bryant's is the best barbecue in Kansas City. Adamant.
These people are maniacs.
It's upsetting. It's upsetting to say the least. So we actually got into a full-fledged argument a few months ago about this, to where I said Oklahoma Joe's is the best quick barbecue out, but I think Jack Stack's the best sit-down. And so what I did is I got Z-Man's from Joe's, and then I got all the sides from Jack Stack. But then, and Tuck, I don't know if you ever got to try this. Have you ever had the Crown Prime Beef Rib from Jack Stack?
No, I think I've been to Jack Stack like 3 times.
Well, you got to look it up. And our not named guest that's on the cast yet, you should look it up as well. It's basically a rib that's a good 9 to 10 inches long, and the piece of meat, I think it weighs a pound per rib. That's how big it is.
Yeah, I had one of these up here. Yeah.
Yeah, he had never had one before. Took a bite, and he legitimately said that it was the best piece of meat he's ever eaten in his life.
Wow.
And so therefore I won the argument. So that was great.
All right. Arthur Bryant's, last thing on this, I've only been there like once. Very disappointing. And it's like the same.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same people who are like, I only go to the original Peanut location, which is that shitty place. It's like a shitty, like, I love the Peanut, right? But like, that's the worst location by a country mile because there's no service. It's microscopic. And like, there's no reason to go there when there's 10 other locations. So I feel like those same people are the same people who are like, oh, Arthur Bryant's where I went as a kid. Thus, it must be the best barbecue in Kansas City. And like, I just don't think so.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that they talked about is the aesthetic. They're yelling at you. It's just piece of white bread and barbecue and meat on top of it. And I'm like, look, like, you could talk about aesthetic all day long, but that's not, like, at the end of the day, that's not what makes barbecue. Barbecue is about the food.
Exactly.
So how's the food compare? And they kept dodging the question. So, because they were like, well, Arthur Bryce doesn't have sandwiches like Joe's does, so that's not fair to compare. And it's like, in my head, I'm like, all right, that's fine. You just don't want to verbally admit that this was just 10 times better than Arthur Bryant's. So we'll go with it. Well, guys, as mentioned, we do have a guest on for this month's theme. He is our fearless video editor and art editor, Mr. T-Totes himself. How's it going, man?
Doing good. Should have been in bed still, but I got up for y'all.
Oh, thanks. Have you slept in the last calendar day?
Yeah, I went to bed early last night just so I can be up for this.
Define early.
So I usually go to bed at like 4 a.m. and I went to bed at 10.
I mean, that's a pretty big swing. Is this because you're on the night shift all the time?
Yeah, I'm just night shift, and then just because of that, I stay up super late on the weekends.
Gotcha. Now, I know Mr. Combo was on the coffee train.
I don't do coffee.
Psychopath.
I have to. It sucks.
It's insane. Yeah, exactly. I want to hear that slurp. I want to hear a big old slurp on the microphone, Combo.
Yeah, so, why don't you, since it's your first time on the cast, why don't you give a little bit of your background, what you do for the channel, and other projects that you work on?
For this channel, I edit the Brews and Builds, and then I also edit Top 5 and 5 for CCO. And every now and then, Camino Replay when he has a video for me. And then I started in Theros and been playing since.
Nice.
Awesome. So, from a video editing perspective, is this a passion thing? Like, this is kind of like my cool hobby, very similar to how Tuck and I do this. Or is video editing something that you eventually would like to get into professionally and actually do it to where people give you physical dollars for your work?
Both. Very much both.
I mean, granted, I guess me and Tuck would love to quit our jobs if we could make six figures playing Magic and talking about it, but that's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
That would be good. Seems like a lot less effort than opening a computer and futzing around on Salesforce all day. So,
well, guys, if you want to know more ways to support the CMD Tower team, help T-Coats, Big Tuck's, and I's dream of all quitting our real jobs to just do this full time, head over to our sponsor, level1gameshop.com. They do all the monthly giveaways for the channel. They do have tabletop games. I actually just bought, Tuck, you'll be proud, Secret Hitler.
Oh, that's a good one.
It. Never seen it. Heard about it. They had it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick up that from the store. And I picked up this beaut of a Swords to Plowshares Japanese foil.
That's right. I saw that.
Very nice.
Beautiful.
Now, if you guys would actually like to help us out directly financially so we can actually quit our jobs at the end of the day, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different tiers from $1, $5, $15, and $25, and each one gets you different access to prizes. Like, for example, the $15 one gets you a Big Tuck Monarch token, a Squee McGee coin, a pack of matte sleeves, a CMD Tower sticker, access to the Discord. You get more entries into the monthly giveaway. You get put into the random selection for voices when it's just Tuck and I on the cast. And then even the referral program and RK Post tokens. I mean, I would probably argue that our Patron community gets more benefits than any other channel out there because we're psychos and we just want to keep giving you guys free stuff. So hopefully you'll give us small increments of money. But like I mentioned, if you are a current patron and you do refer a friend, a frenemy to the channel, have them message us on Patreon. And depending on what tier they signed up for, we'll send you some free swag. Or even, I dare grimace when I say it, sign a gold bordered card.
Yeah!
Oh, that's gross. Now, if you guys can't help out from a monthly perspective or want to get your hands on more of the swag, you could head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell everything on there. And I love it. My running bit's been going on for over a year. I watched the latest MTG Goldfish. Now, for you guys, will have been last week. Apparently, Richard from that channel is in the same boat that I am, where his garage is filled up with their swag, as in my basement is filled up with ours. We both implore you, please buy us out so we can free up living space.
Implore you.
And of course, the free way is just share the content you're already listening or watching, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And of course, we want to give a plug for our audio engineer, Squee McGee, at Dear Squee on Twitter. He does full editing, does have a full studio. So hit him up. He's worked on projects, I think, for a couple of our patrons, and they've been pretty happy with the way it turned out. And obviously, you guys listen to us for some reason, and so you know that his work is legit. And then, of course, we do have T-Coats on at _T-Coats. As mentioned, he is our YouTube editor. So if you guys have any video editing projects, be sure to hit him up. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the Path of 32, we have moved on to the endless themes that EDH can bring us, and each month will be a new theme. We correlate how these decks are constructed, similar to how beer is brewskied. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's rampant, setting your board state. We call that grain.
And grains is the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
Then we have, how does your board interact with the rest of the board? We call that hops.
Hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board, so your deck can ultimately do what it wants.
And then we have my favorite section. How does the deck actually close out, accomplish its goals, or win the game? We call that yeast.
Yeah, got some questions around there. But usually yeast are microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds alcohol content to carbonation. Without yeast, be drinking flat sugar water. Without yeast cards, your deck would meet the goal of actually winning the game.
But then we have shenanigans, or we might as well call this category Alter the Brood. They could be pet cards, random synergies that are in the deck that are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
And spices are not in every beer, but them and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into a jalapeno stout, or the addition of hops that turn IPA into a double IPA, or the addition of coffee beans that turn this into a single to a double. Not every deck that has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
And then to wrap up the episode, we have a bottle capping. These are going to be T-Coats, Big Tucks and Eyes, cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no-budget recommendation. We just can't talk about mana-only lands, a.k.a. Gaia's Cradle. So without further ado, let's get brewing. Like I said, we had our video editor on today because might as well. He is part of the team. We want to hear about his nonsense, and this is definite nonsense with Ayula's Build-A-Bear Workshop. He said this is a token deck. I see a few token generators.
It is.
T-Coat.
It is.
Big Tuck, why don't you read off who Ayula is, and then T-Coats, we'll have you kind of describe the build, why you went this route, and how in the world you justify this being a token deck.
All right, so Ayula, Queen Among Bears, is, you guessed it, a bear. A legendary creature bear, and that thing, she's a 2/2 for 2. Whenever another bear enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. Put 2 1/1 counters on target bear, or target bear you control fights target creature you don't control. And she is a legendary rare. From what set, Mr. Combo?
There we go, Modern Horizons, baby. The best set of all time. All right, T-Coats. Why did you decide on this mono green bear build And then tell us how you're able to sleep at night calling this a token deck.
Also, I also want you to I'm also curious as to why you would call this a bear deck. What it is? There's a lot of weird stuff going on in here.
You building a bear. It's in the name. You building a bear. Anyways, I got on this crazy train. I'm not playing outro bears in this deck. Just from like, I don't want to play a 2/2 vanilla creature usually because that's what bears are.
Right.
So at the time I didn't have Masterwood Nexus, but like I wanted to play with silly stuff like all-ass laboratory that you can like pay a ridiculous amount of mana into making a 2/2 vanilla creature.
Okay.
But and it turns out it's just super fun to like make all these weird stuff that people don't know what you're doing, and then you just have an army of bears out of nowhere.
Right.
It works out now with Masterwood Nexus a lot better, but it's really fun.
So I'm also noticing, is there like a sub? I don't really understand a lot of what I'm reading here, but I am seeing a lot of like 1/1 counters. Is there some sort of like rigmarole that's going on in here as well that I just like was too tired to understand?
Yes. There's stuff that like you can take away a counter and you get mana, or you can draw a card.
Right.
And you can turn those into bears and then start buffing them up with Ayula so they can get more counters, and so you can continue to use them.
It just seems like a lot of work. I would say this is one of the sweatier decks that we've seen in the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's very sweaty.
So I'm just going to go on record and say when your quote-unquote token deck only has like 6 ways to make tokens, and most of them cost 5 or 6 mana, it's not a token deck. I'm just going to put that out there first and foremost, and I will not be fielding any questions. Pass.
I'm in green.
I will not be taking any questions this time.
5 or 6 mana is like turn 2, turn 3, right?
All right, Mr. Big Bragger over here.
So I was just going to say that it looks like you have a pretty solid, mana distribution here. Looks like you're about 100% on it, so congratulations there, Mr. Big Pants Bragger.
Yeah, and I see your CMC is
pretty hard.
A 3/5/1, but I think if we take in all your activated abilities of your artifacts to make your quote-unquote token bears, your CMC would actually probably be 6.
It'd be like 9.
And then cost of the deck, you're just a shade under $500. All right. Well, I don't think there's much more to talk about with the deck. So why don't we actually get into the bears and porridge and start with the grain section. Ooh. Tyler, start us off. What is the first card that you believe is integral to a Build-A-Bear workshop?
Mana, which will be Nyx Bloom Ancient.
Oh my god.
You can have triple mana.
So good.
It is a 7 CMC enchantment creature elemental. That is a 5/5. That has trample, and when you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead.
Yeah.
So this card is insanely powerful. The interesting thing, though, is I have seen it resolve multiple times at a table. And yes, everyone panics. Yes, it's like, oh my god. But it's never won the game, which is very interesting. I've seen it last on a table for multiple rotations. And yeah, and they dump their hand and do a bunch of gross stuff, but they never win the game. So I'm curious, Tyler, have you been able to resolve a Nyx Bloom in this deck? And when you did it just like put everything online and were you able to win? Or did it just kind of put you really far ahead, but you're still like in the game?
I think I'm actually playing it pretty fair than what you can do with it. Because like, yeah, I make triple mana what I usually have, but then I'm just immediately putting into the activation cost of the artifacts to make a 2/2. So it's not winning me the game, but it definitely helps my playing along.
That's what I was going to say on it, is that it's like I think Nyx Bloom is a very strong card, right? But looking through here, there's like you have sort of one dump that you can put a bunch into, but then everything else is either like one creature or one activation, and you don't have like a lot of ways to like do that over and over again. I think where it gets like, this card is interesting because for me, I think it's like usually either a grain or a yeast, but if it's a yeast, it's kind of more of like a win more card, right? Like it's big and scary and has this like giant like world shaping ability, but in reality, like this one card can't get you there, like Mr. Combo said, right? So if you don't have a dump for it or an X spell to follow up with, then you're just like, all right, well, I'm just like rampant growthing 3 times every turn, which can kind of just be like a cycle in and of itself.
All right. Well, my card, I thought was super cool because you do have this weird +1 counter theme in the deck. Because I get it, it's one of Ayula's abilities. But this card, being instant speed, might call upon to draw some cards. 3, 2, 1.
Cool.
Inspiring Call.
Inspiring Call. Woo!
That's a 2 color green instant uncommon.
My sore throat cost me that one. Okay, draw a card for each card you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Wow.
Yeah. Tuck, have you seen this card before? Because I've never seen it.
Wait, really? Oh yeah, I've seen this. I've seen this a lot. Like, I think it came in like the Atraxa precon, which is where you see a lot of like 1/1 counter synergies. I think this is in my Zeraxa deck with all those Hydras because they all have 1/1 counters on it. So yeah, so definitely situational. But I think in a deck that even has this sort of like you said sub theme, right, where now your Fertilids draw you a card and you can get in with damage for them. So to me, this is like a worse second copy of Heroic Intervention in any deck that really cares about 1/1 counters and gets you to draw those cards, which again, Green used to have a real hard time doing, now is no longer the case.
Yeah, I really like this.
Green having issues.
I'm a humongous fan of this card. Like I said, I didn't know it existed, so it's 100% going in my Simic Persistent Petitioner's Azuri deck, because that just seems like a slam dunk in there.
Oh, for sure.
But in this deck, I think at least for 3 mana, if you can protect 3 of your creatures and draw 3 cards, I'd say that's still worth it. I think the only time that the floor wouldn't be very good is if it's 1 creature. Then it's like, I'm really just paying 3 mana to protect 1 thing and draw a card, so it's just replacing itself. Even 2, I think you can kind of make that stretch case, like this was still a pretty good return, but I think 3 is that nice sweet spot, and I don't see an issue in this build having at least 3 creatures with some +1/+1 counters on it. Like I said, considering Ayula, her first ability is put 2 +1/+1 counters on target bear. All right, Tuck, what is your first grain card?
Well, this is my second because my first was Inspiring Call. Interesting part here. Also not a bear, but I think I know where you're going with this. But this
0 bears.
This card is a horse that is some sort of rival of work. So workhorse, okay. Also not on the reserve list, okay. 6 colorless for a rare artifact creature. It's about $3.77. Comes into play with 4 1/1 counters on it. Remove a 1/1 counter from Workhorse. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Play its ability as a mana source. So listen, I get it, right? I understand what you're trying to do here. You turn this into a bear, then you keep that cycle going with the thing, right? But again, so you're like, this is like the build. This is putting the build in the Build-A-Bear, right? This deck has nothing to do with tokens. Has very little to do with bears, and just has some sort of sweaty Rube Goldberg machine. So how is this? How did you transform this deck to make this where this card's probably good? And B, why isn't this in like the yeast or the spice section? Because I feel like this card doesn't do anything unless you have like a way to make a gazillion mana off it.
I put in the grain just because it made mana, and I was trying to hastily put stuff in categories. Could be in a different spot now, I think about it. But It's pretty sweaty in the
It is extremely sweaty.
I mean, once again, never seen this card before. Why it's over $3 completely baffles me. Because on its face, it is not very good. But I do think you have this like weird Rube Goldberg machine with this, where I think it actually is fine as a grain, because I think its floor is just, you put 6 into it, and then later throughout the game, you're able to produce 4 mana whenever you want. But there is a weird machine to where if you get a couple additional counters on Workhorse, a lot of your token generators cost 4 or 5 mana. You could spend 4 or 5 counters off Workhorse, it still lives, make a token. Ayula puts 2 more counters on Workhorse. So it's almost like with Workhorse and Ayula on the battlefield, you get a 2 mana reduction on all activated abilities that produce tokens, because you're going to get 2 more counters on the Workhorse should you choose when that bear enters the battlefield, or most likely it's a shapeshifter, which also is weirdly a bear. So I like it. It's a weird card. I don't know if I have a single deck that I could even make it kind of functional. So
No.
Yeah.
With that rigmarole, you also need a way to turn Workhorse into a bear before Ayula can put counters on it.
Oh my god, this entire deck is a spice.
It really is. It's upsetting, so...
Alright, T-Coats, why don't you give us your last green card?
She's the only planeswalker I have.
Ooh.
Did you not? Did you not?
I did not take that bait. Get out of here.
Wow. Nissa, who takes the ward, is a 5 mana rare legendary planeswalker Nissa. With the only thing that really matters is her passive. Anything whenever you tap a forest for mana, add additional forest, and then she can also put counters on lands. And I don't care about the ultimate.
Yeah, this card, it's cool because it's the same mana as a Mirari's Wake. Pretty much does the same effect, just in green. Mm-hmm. But I think that makes it still really, really good. And like we were talking about precast, like if you're in mono green, a lot of times you can ramp fast enough to where turn 2 you already have 5 mana. So I think it's very realistic. You can get Nissa down super early game, and Tuck knows this because I'm obsessed with the 3 mana Liliana, that when you get these planeswalkers that have a very, very strong effect, but maybe it's a low loyalty, obviously planeswalkers are always acceptable to go wide board states, but if you get those planeswalkers down turn 2, a lot of times people don't have boards yet to deal with them, and they're not willing to pass on their own board advancement to get rid of your planeswalker, so they're going to still cultivate. They're still going to play their soul rings, their chromatic lanterns, and so a lot of times, if you get that planeswalker down turn 2, you actually end up getting so far and ahead of your opponents because no one wants to mess with it. By the time they want to mess with it, you've already gotten the value out of it. And that's kind of how I look at Nissa, to where if you're getting that double mana on essentially turn 3, no one's going to be able to remove Nissa probably until turn 6 or 7. And by that point, you've probably dumped your hand, created a ton of bears, and just gone ham-skeed on the board to where you're in such a commanding position, it's going to be very difficult to stop you.
Yeah, I agree on all those points. And again, the +1 is the ultimate doesn't really matter. I agree with that on this deck that much. But the +1 does create creatures with counters on it. So again, if you're pot committed to this bizarro +1/+1 counters sub theme in this token bear deck, then this is one of the ones that actually does that for you. Now, I'm not sure if you have the means to like move them around or anything, but it does interact with some of your other mechanics and cards you have in the deck.
Yeah, and I will say this. In defense of the ultimate, it's -8. You get an emblem with lands you control have indestructible, which is irrelevant. But I will say, the search your library for any number of forest cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped and shuffled, that's pretty ridiculous. And like I said, if you're able to get this down turn 2, at the end of the turn, it'll have 6 loyalty. Turn 3, 7. Turn 4, 8. Technically, turn 5, you could be ultimating this, thinning out your deck a cool 29 cards potentially. That's nothing to sneeze at. And I would rather have all my forests on the battlefield than have double mana. Even though it'd be great to be able to tap 29 forests for, God, what is that, 58 mana? But I would rather do that really quick, and then now it's just gas off the top. You never have that situation where it's, don't give me a land, fudge! It's a land. All right. Well, I'm the last one to go. My card, it's a card we've never talked about on the cast, and it's probably one of my favorite green cards of all time, Zendikar Resurgent. I love this card.
Oh.
It's big, it's splashy, but it does a lot. So 5 colorless green enchantment rare. Whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana to your mana pool of any type that land produced, and then whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. So a lot of times, it turns into this rigmarole, like add a bunch of mana, play a creature, draw a card, play a creature, draw a card, play a creature, draw a card. It becomes this like repetitive rap song that one of these like youths would listen to. But
SoundCloud rapper.
Yeah. Surprisingly, it's almost $7. That's pretty crazy. I didn't know it got so expensive.
Yeah, it's been going up and down on price. And I think to your point, Mr. Combo, this card to me is scarier than like a Nyx Bloom Ancient because it does more than just add mana, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, this enables like a value trade to go, whereas Nyx Bloom Ancient just kind of sits there. And yeah, this being one less, significantly cheaper. It has been kind of climbing up in price over the last few years. Probably needs to get reprinted somewhere else. But I think this, if you're running mono green or you're not running green white, it's like this is a pretty easy substitute when you put it in. For that Mirror's Wake, that double mana sort of ease of use there.
Yeah, totally agree. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up the green section. Now we're going to head over to the hop profile. So I'm going to start off the hop section with a card that is, I think you call this a green staple. It's in a lot of decks.
100%.
Beast Within. 2 colorless green, instant uncommon for almost $2. Destroy target permanent, and its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. Oh, you know what, Tuck? I see it now. The reason T-Codes calls this as a token deck is he's giving his opponent's token.
It's all his tokens for other people.
Destroy target permanent is insanely strong because it can get rid of troublesome lands, enchantments, really planeswalkers. It's saying permanent opens up so much, and I think that's why it's a green staple, is it can literally deal with anything at any time.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think this is a green, if we're talking about like removal staples, to me, this is the same argument that you'd have with like same discussion we've had with Chaos Warp, where it's like, if you're running red, you should have it in there just in case, right? Because the floor and the ceiling on it is so high. This one is just so efficient. The 3/3 literally doesn't matter. It's just such a efficient, clean removal spell. But T-Codes, what's been the best thing you've gotten with the Beast Within in the last 6 months have you been playing?
Oh, to be honest, I haven't really played Ayula in the past 6 months. I've been playing other stuff.
Is it because your conscience can't allow you to play a quote-unquote token deck that doesn't make tokens? I can see that. It's okay.
No. It's just I have Neo decks, so I've been playing those instead. One time I got a turn 1 Soul Ring, and then I blew up my opponent's land that he got on my turn 2.
That's so mean.
That's pretty mean. That's extremely mean.
He was my friend. He knew.
He knew I was going to be a dick to him. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's blast him in the face on turn 2. That's so greedy. What a greedy move that is.
All right. Well, Tuck, why don't you talk about your hops card?
I think there's an argument that some of these ones on here, there's a lot of like green staple standardy stuff in this list, and this one certainly is one of them. Force of Vigor, again, off the classic list for Mr. Combo. Off Modern Horizons, the first one, 2 colorless, 2 green for an instant. If it's not your turn, you may exile a green card from your hand. Rather than pay this spell's mana cost, destroy up to 2 target artifacts and or enchantments, and it's $9-ish, which is pretty fair for the thing. So again, in similar scope with Beast Within, just a super clean, super efficient removal spell. I like the fact, because there's some of these where you can't, you have to tip, like, so for example, if you have like a Decimate, sometimes you have to target something that you control just to get the card off. So I do like the fact that it's up to 2, so you can get if you can do this for 1. Obviously, that's not as ideal, but late game you're gonna have stuff like the 3 visits, the 3 visits of the world, the Fertilids of the world that you may not need anymore, and then they just turn into perfect fodder for this to get rid of any sort of troublesome enchantment or artifact.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if they did a new force cycle, because I like this whole instant. If it's not your turn, you can exile a card. And it'd be interesting if they could figure out a way to do a force of guilds to where it's all the 2 colors. Where it'd be like 2 colorless Azorius. If it's not your turn, you may exile a. I think if they said a white blue card from hand, that would be too complicated. So they could say white or blue card from your hand, and then you get and like the Azorius one could be target opponent can't cast spells until their next turn or something like that. That would be really, really cool, because I love this cycle. You don't need to make it like Force of Will to where it's insanely powerful and it's a $200 card and everyone wants like 39 copies of it. But I think there's a lot of design space you could do within that force cycle. But yeah, Force of Vigor, it's a great card. I actually don't run it in any deck. Yeah, and I think I have a few of them. I didn't know they were $10. But it's pretty great.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
I'll admit that harps are pretty basic. Just saying.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a couple in here that are kind of cute, but maybe we'll get to those in time. Boom, boom.
All right, T-Coats, why don't you read off your hops card?
So mine will be not that one. Is the classic heroic intervention for 1 and a green, instant rare. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until the end of the turn.
This is a card I run tons of. I love this thing. I even run the one that Tuck at our Drinkathon 2-3 years ago when someone spilled beer all over the deck boxes and my Karametra deck got wet. I still run that copy that is just beat to hell because the card is so good.
Well, that's a memory, so even more value for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It more just upset me because I had to like panic, half drunk, like de-sleeve the entire thing and start trying to dry off cards.
Oh yeah.
And that was not enjoyable. But yeah, this is like basically Green's Teferi's Protection, like as close as Green's gonna get. And this is very on flavor. I don't think this is something that is outside of Green's colors. So I know everyone makes the running joke of, oh, what's the most powerful color in Magic? Oh, it's green. Green has everything. This actually fits green. This isn't a stretch. So I'm a big fan of it. And obviously, if you're spending 5-6 mana to make your 2/2 quote unquote token bears, you need ways to protect it from board wipes, because nothing has to feel worse than you spending all of your mana to make 2 tokens and then someone Wrath of Gods. Then it's just like, well, F me.
Yeah, it's just so I wish like it's not like a push card, but this is definitely a green staple. It's really hard to make the argument to not run this card if you're in green. I guess if you're not playing well, and like the thing that frustrates me about that is if it said creatures you control, that's one thing, right? And then you're like, okay, there's a handful of decks that may not want that. But the fact that it's permanents, unless you're playing green Spellslinger, like I don't think but even then, that's a stupid argument because I'm 90% sure I have this in my work deck because it just protects your commander. It's like a second pair of lightning boots.
The only outside of Spellslinger, the only other archetype you would not run Heroic Intervention in is Planeswalkers, because there are destroy target Planeswalker effects, but those aren't rampant yet. So indestructible, all that's going to gain you on a Planeswalker deck is the destroy effects. But if someone swings in and hits, their loyalty is still going to go down. Just like toughness still goes down on the creature. It's just on a creature, when it gets to 0, it just resets back up to its toughness and it lives. A Planeswalker will check, and it's just going to die because it doesn't have any loyalty. So that's the only weird edge case where you wouldn't run Heroic Intervention. But in literally every other green deck, it makes 0 sense not to run it. All right. Well, my next one is a card that I do not run enough of, but it has my favorite mechanic with Split Second. So I'm talking about Krosan Grip.
Give me the grip!
Oh my gosh. 2 colorless green instant Split Second. So as long as that spell's on the stat guys, players cannot cast spells or activate abilities that are not mana related. And then it says destroy target artifact or enchantment. This is the number 1 combo stopper in EDH. This and I guess Sudden Spoiling would be another one. These 2 cards will shut down combos left, right, and center. Oh, you're about to infinite off with Brea. I'll Krosan Grip, and you can't do anything about it. You're about to go crazy with like doubling season and tokens. I'm gonna Krosan Grip. It's just so functional, and it's only 50 cents. That's insanely cheap.
Yeah. It's so functional, in fact, that it's in 16% of the decks that can run it, which is extraordinarily high, considering how many like of these sort of abilities are in there. I agree. I like this card a lot. This is one we've talked about before, where this used to be like a $5 or $10 card way back when I first started, and they finally reprinted it to the ground where anyone can pick it up. So again, if you're still playing Naturalize or those like green things with Strive, you're doing it wrong. Like, get the grip. Get a grip with Krosan Grip.
Ooh. Sounds like a good commercial. All right. Well, Tuck, what is your next Hops card?
So I think I know why this is in here, but it seems like it's also very sweaty compared to the other more greasy options we just went through. Lux Cannon. So Lux Cannon is 4 colorless for an artifact, and you can tap, put a charge counter on Lux Cannon, tap, remove 3 charge counters from Lux Cannon, destroy target permanent. So I think I counted like maybe 1 or 2 things that proliferate, and it's not like you can...
There's 2.
There's 2, okay. And there's also not a ton of things that you can, like... It's not like you can generate a bunch of mana and slap it on this thing, right? Which is... So that would kind of make sense there. So, is this just like a pet card that you had lying around that you like? It just seems like there's a lot better options. I mean, Desert Twister, by God's sakes, could do the same thing. You could cast that for 7.
It could be a pet card. It's one of those cards that like bears have the right to bear arms.
Wow.
Just not kill Mr. Combo and then swing.
Good lord.
So, with that statement, you have Lux Cannon and another card in the... Where did I put that? In the section.
We'll get to the other card. Let me tell you.
So...
yeah, I've seen Lux Cannon do work with one of your spice cards, because literally every rotation you're able to destroy a permanent. And I think, Tuck, this is a card, it's a rattlesnake. Where it's like, I'm just putting a charge counter on every rotation. Don't worry about it. We're about to get to 3. And the way I look at it is, if someone wastes a artifact removal on this, where you had to do the initial 4 mana investment, but then after that, you're just tapping it. It doesn't cost mana to put counters on it. You don't have to lose resources to put counters on it. And if you end up wasting your Krosan Grip, for example, on Lux Cannon, that's better for me, because I would probably rather keep some of my other artifacts around in the deck. Your Gauntlet of Power, for example, or Extra Planar Lens. I'd rather keep those and have you wasted on Lux Cannon, because I think those will probably move me further along. But Lux Cannon can be that cool card to where maybe you see the other green player and it's like, hey bro, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing good. How you doing? Oh, I'm doing all right. See that blue player over there, man? They're gonna have some gross artifacts. Like, let me keep my Lux Cannon, and we'll be buddies. We'll be pals. How's that?
Two green buddies, 2 green peas in a pod. Seems like I hear you. It still seems like a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
All right, T-Coats, round us out. What is your last hops card?
I always butcher this name because it's not English, but Sylvan replica.
Sure,
I'd say that's right. Sylvan.
Yeah, it's a 3 mana, a 3 colorless artifact creature shaman, which for 1 green you sacrifice and destroy target artifact or enchantment. It's just another cute card I put in here because one version of this deck used to be straight artifacts, like no green cards at all other than the commander.
What a green artifacts! What a maniac!
Yeah, so this is one of the cards I just kept in there just because it's cool.
Wow.
Oh my god.
That is wild. Yeah, I think the real interesting parts about this, and this will be quick, is this card isn't a token, doesn't create tokens, and isn't a bear of any varietal, so...
There's no bears other than Ayula, and then you can make changelings, but...
It's just, I appreciate the deck, I appreciate where you're trying to go with this, that doesn't change the fact that you're, in fact, a maniac.
This card, and I have to correct you, T-Coats, is actually pronounced shaman. That's the way that us cultured people call it. They're shamans. And this card should immediately be cut from the deck, but I can understand why it's in hops, because it does deal with the board, and I think, Tuck, an argument could be made to where this is very similar to Lux Cannon, where you got that rattlesnake. You're just over there and...
Yeah.
Ready to you want to make me mad? I got a forest. I'll sack this guy. I'll blow up your shit. I don't even care.
Sure.
Yeah, it could be cut. I would agree.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap up the hop section. Now we're gonna head over to how this deck, I guess, wins in the yeast section. Why don't you start us off? What is your very first yeast card?
So this is fitting with the bear arms thing, and I assume this is like the most easy way to win, quote unquote. And it's a launcher, and it's very strange because there's no other gun in Magic besides the Goblin Weaponsmith or whatever guy. So rocket launcher.
Yep.
Yo, you're doing this. This is yours too. All right, good. Well, you get to read it off.
Okay. Also. You're wrong. There's also Goblin Cannon that does the same thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but it's not in the deck. I don't know why. Just throw it at me. So, Rocket Launcher is a 4 colorless artifact. For 2 mana, you can do 1 damage, and at the end of the turn, Rocket Launcher has to be sacrificed.
So I'm assuming this is there's some sort of Rube Goldberg-esque sweaty rigmarole involving Workhorse and like maybe another card to make a gazillion mana or potentially go infinite, and then just blast people in the face with rocket launcher, game over?
I don't think I can make infinite mana, but like turn 10 or 12, you have like a bunch of doublers or triplers, so you have mana galore.
Sure.
And so you can potentially kill 1 or 2 people with a rocket launcher.
This card is not sweaty, greasy, or slimy. It actually doesn't have a category because it needs to be something that's below sweaty. That's 1. 2, I may throw this now in all the decks that I run Grim Monolith Power Artifact because that seems hilarious.
Oh, God.
And lastly, you need to get an altar of this to where it's a bear shooting the rocket launcher, since apparently this is a quote-unquote bear token deck.
Oh my god, that'd be incredible.
It is.
Considering right now the actual art kind of looks like Raphael, one of the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it does.
So I need to put in my Ninja Turtles deck as well.
You have a Ninja Turtles deck? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I have a Ninja Turtles deck.
Is
that one also a token deck?
Okay, this one, no. Actually, it could make tokens, so it could be, but no, this it's actually total tribal. So I'm playing a bunch of turtles and then mutate cards and Nagistu.
Oh, because all the turtles are like 1/1s, right? Or
like two 3s and stuff. So with Sadar, they become unblockable. Sadar Kondo.
Oh, right.
Oh my god! All right, well we're getting off that train. Peacoats, you shared that one with Tuck. Why don't you give us your last yeast card?
Probably the best card I have for this deck, Maskwood Nexus.
Yeah, that one's good.
So for 4 mana, 4 colors artifact, creatures you control or every creature type, so everything has changeling. And then for 3 and tap, you make a 2/2 blue shapeshifter. So it makes everything that's not bears into bears. And then it also is a factory, which you put mana into to make a bear.
I mean, look, if this is the direction that your deck, if this is the direction that you want this deck to go in, and also how you want to live your life, this is probably the best card in the deck. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like pretty fresh off the presses, so like that's exciting too, right? Always good to see recent-ish cards in there. I think this is one of the few cards that if you were going to make this an actual bear deck with like actual bears in it, as opposed to this, again, sweaty mess that we're talking through today. It's not a mess, it's a fun deck. Then this would be probably one of the ones that you can make the cut. But as is, you need every single one that you have, so you also have to have ones that are not as hot as this one. But yeah, I think this card's awesome. I think it's going to be very expensive, so if it's $4 now, I'd try to pick up a copy if you're interested in having one.
Yeah, I'd agree, and I think this card is sneaky good in general, because tribal, I think we can all agree that tribal of some sort, that's like the number one archetype out there. Mm-hmm. Even if people are like, I'm doing artifact trial. I mean, just tribal's a thing. So giving your creatures every single creature type, you will accidentally get benefits that other people have, because other people will run like, I'm sure no one else is running a Minotaur deck. So like the fact that this gives all Minotaurs whatever won't be a big deal, but you'll get that benefit. Same thing with like vampires. And then even slivers. Slivers. Yeah. And that's when it gets to like the bigger tribes, because a lot of times, like I have a sliver deck, I have an elf deck, and I run stuff that does universal because my thought is, well, I'm going to be able to do it better than you. So I don't care if you accidentally get Forest Walk, because I'm doing Forest Walk +2/+2. I'm getting all of these different effects. So it's not even like the edge case one tribes that you're going to get the benefits. Like you're going to have cocky players that play very, very pronounced tribes running it to where it is a universal effect, because their mind is, I can do it better than you, and most likely you probably aren't playing zombies at the same time I'm playing zombies, so I should be all right. And this card just completely cuts through that. All right. Well, my first yeast card, there are many words that could be used to describe this card.
Yeah, there are! Woo!
And this actually makes bears and tokens. It's crazy, guys. He finally did it with one card in the deck. 3, 2, 1.
Words of Wilding! Woo!
2 colorless green enchantment rare.
Yeah, I'm happy to read this one because it actually makes sense. You can pay 1 mana.
That makes sense.
The next time you would draw a card this turn, put a 2/2 green bear creature token into play instead. The best. This is, if you're like, here's my token bear deck, and this is the first card that I saw in it, and I'm like, yes! Like, this deck, there's no way that there's 40 artifacts in this deck. There's probably a bunch of green bears and bear other things. So, I think there's a lot of like weird interactions here, like with, like this one can kind of trigger off your Queen Among Bears. It sucks because they're tokens, obviously, so it doesn't trigger a lot of the draw card spells, but I think that there's a lot of like cute interactions, sub-interactions in here that's gonna make this card really, really, really strong. I had to panic because I didn't see that this was in here. and I was going to add it. So at the beginning of the call, I had to scramble to find something else and cuts and adds, which goes to show how much I appreciate this card and how glad I am to see it in here.
Yeah, this thing's amazing, and I think this is also sneaky good, not because of the whole bear token thing, because that's actually what you need, but there is a lot of punishment for drawing cards nowadays. You got your Necrozars of the world, the Zyruses of the world, Rhystic Studies of the world, or not Rhystic Studies, Smothering Tithes of the world. Yeah, Hold Breacher. And so having this card out there, you may just choose I've just been drawing lands. Let me, just make a token instead. I need to fight something. I need to do something with it. But someone resolves a Hold Breacher. Xeris. Hey, you know what, T-Coats? I want you to draw 7 cards, but you're actually not going to draw 7 cards. I'm going to draw 7 cards. Or you're going to draw 7, but I'm going to make 7 snakes. Or I'm going to get 7 treasures. You can just say, you know what? I'll just put 7 mana and I'll just make 7 2/2 bears. And they'll be like, aw. And then they'll never target you again. Ever.
Yep.
So I love this thing.
This card goes well with the, what is it called? Mind's Eye.
Oh.
So when people draw, you can draw with them by paying 1. So for 2, you can make a bear instead. And also, it's no longer on the deck, but I used to play Life from the Loam. So you can dredge, get a land, do some rigmaroles so you can draw with the land, and then you can use this to make bears. Oh, and also the another card. I can't remember the name of, but yeah, this card is very fun.
Yeah, that card's great. All right, well, I'm the only one left with card to talk about, so I'll go with my last one. It's Prototype Portal. I really, really like this card. 4 colorless, artifact rare. It has imprint. When in ETBs, you may exile an artifact card from your hand, and then you pay X, tap, create a token that's a copy of the exiled card. X is the converted mana cost of the card. As Tuck kind of choked, you have a billion artifacts in the deck, so making extra metallic mimics doesn't seem bad at all. Even if you have to go the low end, Soul Ring, Mind Stone, Moss Diamond. Prototype Portal is one of those cards that I think you need to have at least 20 targets for it, because when you have less, a lot of times they could just sit in hand and literally do nothing. So at least when you have 20, you probably have at least 1 or 2 options in hand that you can exile with it. And, not all of them are going to be great. Like, you may do a Universal Automaton, and it's like, well, I guess it is technically a bear. Stretch.
And token.
And a token. Damn it!
I'm upset. We're bailing out of this category. We're heading over to Spice. And T-Coats, why don't you start us off? What is the very first Spice card you want to talk about?
Eska's Chariot.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty going bye-bye.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So for 3 and a green, it's a vehicle. When it enters, you make 2 green cats. Not bears, I know. But whenever it attacks, you can make a token that is a copy of target token you control, and it has clue 4. So this is a spice because A does not make bears off of the ATB. One game I had a bunch of cats instead of bears.
Also facts.
But it makes it can make a token of whatever rigmarole you put in the Prototype Portal or a bear when he attacks.
Now here's the real thing that you could do with this deck, right? If you put in more cats, like a 50-50, you could do lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my!
Oh my!
That's how you build a token deck of this nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, the card is fine. Well, no, it's bad. But the crew 4 is kind of where I get off on it, and I get it. You make the 4 power you need to crew it like on ETB, so it's like whatever. I'm sure this would be great in that Riri Siri deck. the cat dog deck. I'm sure it'd be banger in that.
Yeah.
But or even the cat legend.
Oh,
Arabo.
Arabo.
Yeah. So I think edge cases, it's good in a cat tribal, but I think general tokens for then having to pay for to then populate, it seems real expensive.
Yeah,
I agree with that. It's also really good. It's one of the better cards in like my newly minted Ruxa deck that doesn't care about creatures with abilities because you get 2 of them for the price of 1. But yes, it's definitely sweaty picking this. It makes sense that it's in Spice. Probably would be a good target for the captain.
All right. Well, we'll go to my Spice card. With how much mana you can produce, there's a lot of times where it's like, well, I could make 15 mana, but I only have 1 card in hand. And it's a Croson Grip, and there's no good targets on the battlefield, so I don't have anything to do with it. So this card allows you to dump all your mana, and this guy gets humongous, and then you can still spend it, because your green mana doesn't go away. We're talking about Omnath, Locus of Mana. Incredibly good.
Yeah, really
especially
strong.
with how much mana this deck can make. So 2 colorless green, legendary creature elemental. You don't lose unspent green mana as steps and phases end. And Omnath, Locus of Mana gets +1/+1 for each unspent green mana you have, and he is in general a 1/1, or it. So the thing I love about, well, don't love, I used to play against this with someone that used to play in our play group, and he would do the rigmarole of, well, I'm going to swing at you with a 2/2, and it's like, okay, no blocks, and he's like, okay, I tap all my mana, and now I'm hitting you for 15. And it's like, probably should have saw that coming, but I didn't. So this card could be a sneaky yeast in this deck, because it could be I'm swinging at you with a whole lot of bears, or maybe my bears have been fighting down your defenses, swing at you with Omnath, oh, no blocks, I'm going to tap out, I got my mana doublers or triplers or whatever it is, and I got 40 mana, my mana pool, and you're dead. And then, by the way, once you're dead, I'm going to use that mana in the second main phase to then do other stuff. It's incredibly good.
I also was looking at this. Is it worth it? Is this worth the slot just to have in most mono green decks because they produce so much mana? Like, even if it's like right on the edge for me, right? Like, I don't know if it's every single one. But this was like, I've seen this as backup commanders in friend of the show Tice's deck, Drink. I've seen this as backup commanders in, I think single Aaron had this as a backup commander in one of his decks. So it's a really strong ability. I just don't, and I don't think it goes in every single one, but just being able to have that mana sink, being able to have a big threat pretty much at any point in the game, especially if you're running this much ramp, this much mana doublers, that sort of thing. Just something to chew on.
Yeah. So this one has a buddy, and also Spice. I like to call them reservoirs, so you can just store your mana, and then when you need to activate the factories for instant speed interaction, then you can.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or when you want to play an overcosted Eskia's Chariot, you have the mana there.
Exactly. Exactly. All sorts of good stuff here.
All right, Tuck, take us home. What's your spice?
So I have come out and said I hate this card, and I still do. I don't like the fact it's $12. I don't like the fact it's never gotten printed, and it's like a more bullshit version of Paradox Engine. So that being said, it actually is quite good in this deck. Any way you cut it. With the Form Engine, it does make sense to have it in here. So 4 colorless for Legendary Artifact, it's a Mythic. That's $12. Boo. 2, tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Very good with your commander and maybe some other like fringe things that you have in here. 3, tap. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Okay, like makes your Croson Grips or your well, I guess you can't do that.
Welcome home.
Yeah, exactly. Makes that stuff a little better. And then finally, because this is a quote-unquote token deck, 4 colorless and tap, target copy permanent spell you control, that copy becomes a token. But
you can't actually copy your tokens that you're making.
Right. But you're making...
So you can't...
You
But
can't.
you can make a copy of a factory or the overcosted Eska's chariot.
Yes, exactly. Again, this deck is just okay. Look, we get what you're trying to do here. The entire deck is just a shell to make as many Eska's Chariots copies as possible. That's what this whole deck is for. Prototype portal. This. That's probably about it that I can think of at the top of my head. But there's other ways you can do it.
Well, actually, prototype. Oh yeah, I guess that does work. I was thinking of the.
Using Soul Foundry.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Lithoform Engine.
I know you
think
are.
this there's an argument to be made. This is just an EDH staple, like Soul Ring and Command Tower. Because I can't think of a single deck I own where 2 of the 3 abilities aren't incredibly relevant to how the deck functions. Whether it's like I even run this in my CEDH deck because the first 2 effects, it's like, okay, 3 mana tap, copy my extra turn spells. That seems great. Or even 2 mana tap, let's get some extra random damage thrown around the table off of my Vial Smasher triggers. So I wish this card wasn't $12, but I actually understand why it's $12 because it is insanely powerful. And I wouldn't be surprised if this got banned one day.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, this is coming from the guy who owned, 6 copies of Paradox Engine?
Yep.
Maybe more? So, yes, it tracks.
Paradox Engine would be really good in this deck.
Paradox Engine is good in every deck. Yes, that's why it's banned. Because it's a horrible, terrible card that makes games go on arbitrarily longer for no real reason.
Yeah, that's why you should also ban Armageddon. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap up the Spice package. Now we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, it's going to be T-coats, big tucks and eyes, cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no-budget recommendation. We just can't talk about mana-only lands. I'm going to start this off with my under $5, and I hear you. It's cute, because it kind of does this weird combo with Words of Wilding, but I'm going to cut Mind's Eye. Mind's Eye, guys, 5 colorless artifact. It's a rare. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may pay a colorless if you do draw a card as well. For some reason, this thing's $10.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
You also, and for those keen-eared listeners, Mr. Combo, I think this is like one of your most disliked cards that I've ever heard you talk about. Like, I think any deck that this has been in, it's either been on the chopping block, you have specifically not talked about it, or have said something like, yes, this is on the chopping block.
Yeah, and it's because 5 colorless for an artifact that literally does nothing is not good. And if you argue to me, well, Mr. Combo, I can pay colorless when my opponents draw cards. That's still, like, for me, a mana to a card being drawn is fine. Even if you went 1.5 mana to card drawn, that's like edge case. Basically, it's 5 to get on the poker table, but then you still got to put more mana into it, which is just stupid.
Yes, and the last thing I'll say about Mind's Eye is the only time when it is good is if you have nothing else in your hand. And you literally pay 5 and then just take a turn to just refill your hand. But again, there's so many. I also agree. This is a legacy commander card that is slowly being phased out by better stuff.
Yep.
So it's in here because I'm in green, so like 5 mana is like nothing.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but I do agree. In most decks, it's cut it.
But I think there's a better card. It lowers your CMC by 1. It is a bear, and Big Tuck has it as the commander for his no abilities deck.
Oh, yeah, we do. This is my first cut too.
It's same for me.
Wait, really?
Yep. Oh my god, did we just 3 for 3 this? All right. Well, I guess we're all adding in Ruxa, the patient professor. Before I go into the card, Big Tuck, what card were you going to cut?
I was going to cut Gauntlet of Power.
Blasphemy!
No, but here's why. So normally I think it's fine. So 5 colorless for an artifact. It's a mythic. As Gauntlet of Power enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1. Whenever a basic land is tapped for mana of the chosen color, its controller adds an additional 1 mana of that color. So the reason why I don't like this versus Zendikar Resurgent, which is in the deck, Cage Sun, which is in the deck, Nyx Bloom Ancient, which is in the deck, is that
because anyone gets access to it.
And so for white and black, or like those kind of things where you need those mana doublers, it's a little bit more helpful. But as we've discussed, almost every game, green has become such a powerhouse color. You're going to be seeing more and more green players, and the last thing green players need is faster ramp and more ramp on their own basic forest.
All right. It upsets me. T-Coats, what card were you going to cut?
Moss Diamond.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And it was just in here because I was like one card short for some odd reason, and I was like, oh, I can just slot this in, and then I just haven't changed it out yet.
Now, granted, the diamond cycle is actually a cycle I've been getting more and more hot on. So, guys, if you're not familiar, Moss Diamond's 2 colorless artifact, ETB's tapped, and then you can tap it for a green, and they offer that in each of the colors. I think I've argued, Tuck, didn't I argue that I think the white and the red one should be staples in the mono colors of those? I believe I said that.
And I think you and I both agreed that these used to be kind of expensive, and now with the Commander's Legends reprinting, they've dropped in price. And I think we both were talking like pretty much any color except for green really needs these. In green, it's a little bit more expendable just because you have rampant growths, wild growth enchantments, those sort of things, urban evolutions.
And I actually like the diamond cycle more than the
medallion.
Because that's the colorless reducer for the colored spells. And I get it; those are like 10 times more expensive, if not 100 times more expensive. But I would rather have the colors than colorless. Yeah, because colorless is easier to produce than colors. So. All right, now we're all on to the card that we all are adding. So like I said, Ruxa, Patient Professor, that's 2 colorless, green, legendary creature, bear druid, rare. It's a 4/4. So Big Tuck, why don't you read the first paragraph of text, and then T-Coats, you'll read the middle and end.
So whenever Ruxa, Patient Professor, enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand.
Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1, and you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they won't block.
So the only negative is that its first ability, literally, you're never going to get ever. Because I'm just going through here. I think literally every single card, creature you have in here has like a paragraph of text on it. So you'll never.
I can get Universal Automaton.
You have one. You have one. And actually, technically, Changeling, that is...
Does it count? Dang.
I think it counts.
Is it an ability, or is it just like a state-based?
I mean, it's state-based, but see, I've always looked at Ruxa as if there's text in the box outside of flavor text, then it probably doesn't count.
Okay, so so we also have... I've been doing a lot of research into Ruxa because I'm building her, or building him. I don't know, whatever. I can't tell it's a bear. I can't count its bear's teats through the robes, so who knows? But so again, I'm really confused by all that. So this is the rulings on it, right? So a creature or creature card with no abilities is one with no rules text at all. This includes true vanilla creatures, including grizzly bears, runeclaw bear, bear cub, and other adorable bear students. Based on creatures, many tokens, and creatures that have lost their abilities. Abilities that function only in zones other than the battlefield count. For example, a creature with cycling 2 is not a creature with no abilities. So I don't think Universal Automaton would count.
Okay. So yeah, it doesn't get anything then.
Yeah. But I think here's where it would work, though, is you do have some tokens you can make, and those tokens don't have any abilities. So therefore, you would get the +1/+1. And I think the bigger piece of it, though, is you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage so they weren't blocked. A lot of times, that's the negative with the low-to-the-ground tokens, the 1/1s and 2/2s of the world. It's like, man, I could swing in, but I only got 5, and they're going to kill 3 of them. And all that hard work I just put in is for naught. So at least this way, they're still going to die, but at least you get that damage through. And they actually did something, because that's the thing that I always struggle with the low-to-the-ground tokens is if you're not going 10, 15 wide at someone, it's like, why even attack? Like, who cares? Yeah. Like, they'll either take the 3 points of damage or they'll just kill off my stuff, and I've wasted everything. So I think at least getting that little bit of buff, but more importantly, the combat damage piece is huge.
And I can tell you that this, by playing this card as my commander, it really makes people like think of like, is it worth it even to think about blocking 4 3/3s, right? Is it even worth the math, or is it better just to like bend over and take it up the tailpipe, if you will?
All right. Well, we all matched on that. So we'll go on to our under $50 and I'm sorry. I'm just it's cute, but it's too cute. We're getting rid of Unwinding Clock.
Oh.
4 colorless artifact, rare, untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. I get it. You got your couple factories, and you can produce lots of mana. You can make a 2/2 on each turn. But now we're starting to talk about magical Christmas land, where you got your mana doublers, you got your Unwinding Clock, you got your factories. That's just, it's a little too picture perfect for me. So that's the card I'm going to be cutting. And the card I'm going to add, it doesn't make bears. Sorry. It does not
make cats.
It does not make cats.
Damn
it. But with you being in mono green, I'm actually surprised I've never seen this card. It's $17. It's only been printed once in 5th Dawn. Beacon of Creation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It makes the insects.
Yep.
Right?
3 colorless green, sorcery rare. Put a 1/1 green insect creature token into play for each forest you control, and then shuffle Beacon of Creation into its owner's library. So, I'm hot on the Beacon of cycle because I love effects, even if it's maybe a little overcosted. The fact that it gets shuffled back in, you get a free shuffle, which isn't. I used to scoff at that, but now it's I believe in it. And B, you get to reuse the spell again at a later date potentially. And especially, I feel like this deck is one that wants to go like turn 12, 15, 17. It wants to go that longer game. So you may see this a couple times. But you playing mono green, I wouldn't say it's out of the realm to pay 4 and make at least 5 to 7 green insect creatures, which is a very good rate. This actually may be one of the better Beacon of cards out there.
Other than the blue one.
Well, the blue one, the extra turn's nice, but if you're in mono green, you very easily for 4 mana could put 8 to 10 power on the board as early as like turn 5 or 6. Right. So that's where I think its power really lies. Oh my gosh. I mean, granted, you're in mono, but I just thought of this. You know, they printed that new Urborg for green where everything's a forest. Yeah. Beacon of Creation. Oh man, now you start running it in non-monocolored decks.
So that's why it's so expensive, is because of Ruxa and because of that forest thing. So it used to be like, I was just looking at it, hold on. Because I was like, well, I want to pick one up for Ruxa as well, but I was like, I don't want to pay $23 to do so. It used to be like, before May 21, it was like $6 at the most.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just going on this crazy spike, so.
And technically, the insects could be bears because you have your Nexus in here.
There you go.
So there we go.
And cats.
All right, Tuck. What is going to be your cut? And what's going to be your ad?
I'm going to cut Amorphous Axe. We've talked about this at some length on the Pirates one. I think it's just a little too sweaty for what you get out of it. So 2 colorless for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+0. It is every creature type and equip 3. I think there's better versions of this card. I think you have some of them in the deck already. You don't have that many creatures that aren't shapeshifters to begin with, so that's another thing to kind of look into. And then lastly, you're probably not going to win through commander damage, so equipping this to your commander isn't really going to help you there either. So just, to me, I think, Mr. Combo really put me in my place on the Pirates episode about having this in deck, so there you have it.
Spank that ass.
So the new one I want to put in is something that's going to give all your little boys little buffers. And it's also fresh off the presses of Modern Horizon 2, so I'm thinking Sylvan Anthem is going to really take this deck over the top. So double green for an enchantment, and green creatures you control get +1/+1, and then whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. So obviously, the +1/+1 is, drips and drabs, dips and dunks, that sort of thing. But when you're making these tokens, obviously like the green thing is going to be a little more difficult to get in this deck in particular. But most of the bear tokens you're going to get is going to get this. And then lastly, it's green creature enters the battlefield. It doesn't matter if it's a token or otherwise. So if you're getting a couple triggers,
cats.
Yes, exactly. So now you can get a couple. You can get a couple triggers of this, kind of stack your draw, and then maybe when you actually play your next creature, after the tokens are created, you'll actually be able to draw the card that you need, or just send lands to the bottom of the deck, which I'm guessing is what you're going to do 90% of the time when you scry in this deck.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a card.
It's fresh.
Oh, that's cool.
Fresh.
Yeah.
So fresh. So fresh. And actually, Tuck, I'm proud of you for picking a Modern Horizons 2 card, a set that hasn't even come out yet. And it's Modern Horizons, my favorite set. So
I was picked 2 last week, so I had to hold off.
So, and I will say this, I didn't realize that I hadn't seen this preview, mostly because our Facebook group, when it comes to like Magic cards or even our Discord for the channel, when it's preview season, it's like I go away for a half hour and I come back and there's 300 new messages and I post, oh, hey, did you guys see this card? And then they start sending me Slowpoke gifts.
Yeah.
So then I just don't contribute. But Sylvan Anthem, I mean, being only 2 CMC, I may throw that in my snakes deck.
Ooh,
yeah. Could you imagine me making like 7 snakes, scrying 7 individual times just to get to that extra wheel and then drawing it?
Yeah.
And then cast. Oh my gosh. That
really
could be like, that could almost be a combo to where I always get the wheel. Because when I wheel, I'm going to make snakes for each of my opponents. Oh my god, that's 21 individual scry triggers. Hi guys, I'm just going to get to my next wheel and then I'm going to draw. And then I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again. Ah, I love it. I love it.
And you can stack the deck somewhat for your wheels.
Oh.
Now we're talking.
All right. Well, T-Coats, what are you going to cut? What are you going to
I'm cutting the Savok replica for a spicy card.
A card that's probably easier to pronounce.
Yep.
Yes. And also one of my favorites and combo you really hate it. Stuffy Doll.
Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does.
It's not a bear.
But it's so sweaty. It's so sweaty. It's so good.
I love Stuffy Doll. I even have one that looks like Chucky from Child's Play. But so why I want to put it in here, because if I can make it into a bear, then when I'm making my bear tokens, it can fight and then deal damage to one opponent, and then I can shove it into a prototype portal and give it to make it to I can have 3 of them.
No,
each of my opponents, or just one, so I can quickly kill him.
I love it.
I thought it'd be fun to put in here.
I have 0 to contribute to this conversation.
I think it's great.
Mr. Combo has left the chat. All right. Well, now we're on to the expensive stuff. No budget. Like I said, I'm going to cut the Eskius Chariot. I don't think I need to go into more reasons. It's not good. But I want to put a card in here that I used to run in my Karametra deck. I think I've since cut it because it's gotten a little bit more tuned, and it was cute. It was an elf. But how about when someone board wipes, you play a Caller of the Claw once it resolves.
Oh.
2 colorless green, creature elf, and it has flash, so you can play it in instant speed, and it's a 2/2. And it says, when it ETBs, put a 2/2 green bear creature token onto the battlefield for each non-token creature put into your graveyard from the battlefield this turn. I don't believe you actually have a token deck. I think most of the things you're going to have on your board are going to be non-token, but it would be great that, when someone gets rid of your commander, gets rid of whatever, hey, I'll flash and Caller the Claw into turn, and then I'll make 5 2/2 green bear creature tokens. It's an instant rebuild. This is a card that there's going to be times where it doesn't work, but that's just the way that, to me, board wipe protection or counter magic, any of that stuff works. It's going to be situational, but you still run it in the deck because the effect's extremely, extremely powerful. I just ended up cutting it from Karametra because most of my stuff would be indestructible, and at most I would maybe have 2 to 3 creatures on the battlefield. Because a lot of my stuff's like big, expensive angels. But I could definitely see this deck where you probably have maybe 5, 6, 7 non-token things out, and Caller the Claw just kind of get you rebuilt back up.
And
Yeah.
this is an actual real bear token deck card that should be in here.
Yeah, I liked it. I like this one.
Good!
Yeah. And it kind of does fit the Build-A-Bear because the art, they're wearing like the dead skin of a bear. So they are building a bear.
Oh.
I think the token should be bear spirits though, because the dude has bear spirits behind him.
Oh yeah, that's a good
For the
point.
girl.
Oh,
That's
yeah, that is
another-
fair.
I think there are bear spirit tokens, aren't there? I know there's bear spirit
They are.
cards.
Really?
Yeah, there is. I think Vivian makes one or something like that.
Huh. Interesting. All right, Tuck.
At least.
What are you going to add, or what are you going to cut?
I'm cutting Etched Oracle. I don't like this card, and I don't think it's very good. Etched Oracle is 4 colorless for 0/0 artifact creature, Wizard Harry. Interestingly enough. Ooh. Just had some thoughts on that. It's got Sunburst. This enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter for each color of mana spent to cast it. 1, remove 4 1/1 counters from Etched Oracle. Target player draws 3 cards. So you're going to pay 4 mana for a 1/1, but then you have to go through some sort of sweaty rigmarole to actually get enough counters on it to remove the counters off of it to draw some cards. So
yeah, it's pretty sweaty, but it does work with World's Wilding. If you can make it into a bear, then you can take counters off, make bears, put counters back on it, make more bears. Because instead of drawing, you can make bears. But yeah, it's
I was gonna say so that's one card in the deck. Is there another card that this interacts with well?
No, if you can just make bear, if you can make it into a bear, then you can just get a card draw off of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Before Tuck goes on, I have confirmed there are no bear spirit tokens. There are double-sided where one side's a bear, the other side's a spirit. But there is a bear spirit creature that came out in Kaldheim, Spirit of the Alder Guard. So I guess you could just buy a bunch of those and use those as spirit tokens. But someone has designed a bear spirit token online, and it does look pretty cool. So that is an option.
Nice.
You may continue.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut it for, and I think this again was my panic cut, and I am gonna put in Nylea Keen-Eyed. So 3 colorless and green for legendary enchantment creature god. Indestructible, as long as your devotion to green is less than 5. She is not a creature. Mostly for this one, creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And then finally, 2 colorless and a green for reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it into your graveyard. So I panicked on this, and this was the first one that kind of came to mind as a way to reduce the cost of 1 green. The cost of 1 from, I believe it's all creatures, to me is kind of like a better Mosswort, or like a better what were we just talking about? The Emerald, the Medallion in this deck, because you have so many colorless creatures. So that's why it kind of hopped up to me. And then also there is some like filtration. You could do something stupid with like Ruxa now, where if you put in nondescript bears, you could put them into your graveyard and then bring them back with a filter or something. I don't know. But like I said, I was gonna put in Words of Wilding, then realized it's already in the deck. So here we are. I have this reduction spell.
It's all right.
it's cool. Yeah.
I'm more proud of my other picks. I'm much more proud of my other picks. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, I think I probably Tech to bail you out would have gone with Nylea, God of the Hunt.
Oh, to give him trample, sure.
Keen-Eyed, yeah, the trample.
But the problem with the hunt is that then if you're putting Ruxa in, it cancels Ruxa out because they all have trample.
Well, Masswood Nexus cancels out Ruxa as well, since it gives Changeling.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't specifically give. Oh, I guess it does, because it says creatures.
But here we go. Here, Tuck. I got it better. And it goes with his like loose +1/+1 counter thing. Bow of Nylea.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. But
There
you
you
can't
go.
use it because you said keen-eyed. So, T-Coats, take us home on your deck. What are you going to cut? What are you going to add?
So I'm gonna cut the finals one. You essentially can like pay 4 to draw a card, and then the creature that it's equipped to gets bigger. But it was just a cute card in there, and you can make Ayula bigger for every time you draw a card, and blah blah blah.
It's also a Wizard Harry equipment, which is pretty rad.
Also works with World of Rarity. But I'm gonna cut it for Blightsteel Colossus.
What?
Yeah!
12 mana.
Let's go.
A 12 mana artifact creature golem for 11/11 that has trample, infect, indestructible, and when it put in the grave from anywhere, you can reveal it and shuffle into your library. So, same thing with Stuffy Doll. If I can make it into a bear, then I can start fighting creatures, and it doesn't matter if they have indestructible, because negative counters. But also, it's 11/11 Infector with trample.
I love it.
I
love Blightsteel Colossus so much.
I hate everything about it. I think we might need to go back into our contract negotiations because I'm not sure if this is the kind of person I want editing their videos. There's just
So see, I got a card that Combo hates, and now I got a card that Tuck hates.
There you go. You're playing us against each other.
I mean, is there an argument that Blightsteel Colossus just goes in every single EDH deck?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's an argument. That's why it's so stupid.
There's no negative to it. If it goes to the graveyard, it gets shuffled back in. It's infect, trample, indestructible. I mean,
this you have correctly identified why I hate this card.
Well, guys, we're gonna end on my high note, Tuck's low note, and T Coates' middle note at the end of the episode. And as promised, here are the details around the giveaway. Level 1's actually gonna be doing a Modern Horizons 2 bundle. Very excited about that, considering it's one of my favorite sets of all time. To enter, it's super easy. Just promote the content that the team puts out. You get an entry for every interaction you do with us on social media, following our Twitter accounts, following us or subscribing on YouTube, I guess is the way they call it. Commenting, liking, doing all the different things, plus being a part of our Patron community. We will announce the winner on MTG Action 4 News July 7th and our social media accounts soon after. And yes, we'll be doing these giveaways every month. Just keep promoting and supporting CMD Tower and Level 1. We would, though, like a review, honest. If it's mean, you can email it to Deersquee at CMD Tower. He's the one that takes all of our complaints. But if it's positive, leave a 5-star review. Leave comments, especially for YouTube. That's kind of like our newest venture. Been doing it for 3-4 months with T-Coats doing the editing. And definitely we want feedback. We want to know what you guys want to see done differently, things that you really enjoy, because that is the next frontier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would like to reach out to us and find more ways to enter into the contest, here's how you can do that. You can reach me at Mr. Commodore number 5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. Big Tuck. Is the app still downloaded?
Yes.
And more importantly, are you logged in?
Yes, and I wish Keith David a very happy birthday today and asked him about the Gargoyles remake and when that's going to be coming. So I've been keeping on that train as much as I can. And it's at Big Tuck tweeting.
Hold on. Gargoyles. Are we talking about the cartoon show they animated from the 90s?
Yeah, he was Goliath.
I love that show.
I know, it was great.
Oh my god. It was so edgy and dark.
Yes. Is this when I bring up I have a Gargoyles deck as well?
No way, really?
Oh my god.
In Bant?
Hell yeah.
With
in Bant?
If you look at the Gargoyles, most of them are in Bant.
Really?
Oh, so it's an actual Gargoyles deck, not some fake knockout Gargoyle deck or bear deck like this. It's not actually just another shapeshifter deck.
No.
See, that's really all of T-Coats' decks. They're all tribal on these weird themes, but they're all just shapeshifters. Oh yeah, exactly. I got a Hominids deck. Plays it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shapeshifter.
You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. We will have an article posted, and of course our website, cmdtower.com/BNBE95. T-Coats' deck list will be posted. You'll have all of our cuts and ads, the link to the YouTube video, all the good stuff. But if you want to make it easier, you could just type it into the Google engine. Crystalline Crawler, Metallic Mimic, Darksteel Forge, Tower.com. Squee McGee, if people want to find out how to get your Manolith commentary, how would they do that? He can do everything you need audio-wise and does have a full studio if you ever do want to come to the KC metro area. We would love you to go support our store, our sponsor, with the orders you're already doing at level1gameshop.com. And when you place an order in the order notes, just type out CMD Tower so they know that you came from The Collective.
Yeah.
And of course, they have a TCG store, so if that's your more preferred way. I was talking with Mia the other day, and I mean, they're on Amazon, and she said that they're actively like looking at the market, looking at what market price is, and always making sure that their prices beat that. So
nice.
That's great. And we started talking about the next event. We're going to have about 45 days notice, so it'll probably be in July or August. But we are going to be doing a potential, once again, so working out the details, chaos draft, to where people will come. Ooh. Your entry fee will get you a CMD Tower playmat, 100 pack of sleeves, and you'll get prize support and random things. And we're hoping it'll be 20 to 50-ish people, somewhere around there. So we should get a very, very healthy turnout. And of course, get this crap out of my basement. But of course, if you would like to support us directly financially so we can continue to upgrade our equipment, put out more content, and get additional swag, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different tiers, like I talked about. I described the $15 one earlier. The $1 one literally gets you into the Discord. You get thrown into the rotation to be used for voices. You get thrown into the rotation for deck therapy. I mean, it's just, once again, I think our channel probably offers the most benefits and things for what your money gets you. So please go out there and support us. And of course, redacted bit for the music provided in the episode. And we do have a store, cmdtower.com/merch. So be sure to go on there if you need to get extra sleeves, you need to get extra things. That's where you can do that. And at _Tcoats, if you need some video editing done, be sure to hit him up. He's great. Tcoats. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm all right. Wouldn't feel great, but
let's just say this. He's significantly better than Mr. Combat Number 5's glorified PowerPoint presentation that you guys were watching before. So, we're at the end of the episode. Tcoats, this was your inaugural Ayula's Build-A-Bear workshop. It should really be called Ayula's Workshop. How do you think the episode went? How did the discussion go? And more importantly, how did the bottle capping go?
So, apparently you're cutting my secret tech of Eska's Chariot. I don't know how the deck's supposed to function now. And then the deck is a token deck if you actually play it. It doesn't look like it, but it actually is. And for the actual bottle cappings, I like some of them.
Hate others.
Some might go in.
Yeah, I thought it went well. I definitely think me and Tuck added more tokens to the deck. And I love the fact that we all 3-for-3'd Ruxa on our under $5. That's never happened before. Absolutely epic.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, no, it's like I said. I think you build a pretty fun deck, so I'm looking forward to seeing this IRL at some points in the near future. Maybe in the November Drinkathon.
Yeah, I think I can swing by in November.
Oh, all right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Tuck, I know your social calendar's booked out for the next 18 months. Do we need a plan for 2022?
I'll be back. If I usually and consistently back to Kansas City for a week in November and a week in December. So I'll be there.
Well, we're at the end, and of course, Tcoats, thanks for being on. We'll definitely have to have you back in the future. And I got like 90 minutes before 40 Life and a Dash kicks off at my place, so I need to go drop the kids off at the pool. Bye.
Bye. Daily devotional.